Welcome to Hawaii Real. I am here with Megan Cow. How you doing this morning, Megan? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And Megan, you're running for prosecutor.
I am.
Why?
Sometimes I ask that question when I wake up and think, what am I doing? No, it really was for the community. That it really was. I have a great life. I wake up on a daily basis and I look outside, and if it's sunny, I lay at my pool.
Ooh.
Or if my girlfriends want to have a drink at 11 o'clock at lunch, I go with them and have a drink at 11 o'clock and have lunch.
That sounds fun. So why would you want to get into like being a prosecutor then? A head prosecutor?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was needed.
It is. You are right about that. And I'm glad that that you're running and you're using social media so much. You were just telling me you're on like social media all the time now.
All the time. You know, before this, I never posted anything. I didn't go on Facebook. I didn't look at things. I definitely didn't post where I was eating, who I was eating with, what I was doing. Now, everywhere I go, I post everything. So yeah, it's a change.
But it's a good change.
It's a very good change.
So you grew up in Hawaii, born and raised?
Born and raised, local girl.
And you went to Punahou?
Yep, 96.
Did you go from kindergarten?
I did, 13 years.
Oh, so you don't even know the other schools. Like, no, I just went Punahou. Oh, when did you go? Oh, just every year.
Every year.
But it's a good thing.
It is.
It's kind of cool.
Punahou's a good school.
Mm-hmm.
Real good.
Is it an elitist school like our former president made the claim?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think nowadays, doesn't matter what school you go to, it's if you apply yourself. I know a lot of people want to get their kids into Punahou or Iolani. I mean, it doesn't matter what school they go to.
It's all like on the parents pushing the kid. Because you can get into like one of these schools and still be a JA, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And not make anything of yourself.
Yeah.
Or you could go to, you know, any public school and become a doctor afterwards. So yeah, you're right. I think it's how kids apply themselves. But anywho, what do you love about Hawaii? Oh, first of all, did you live anywhere else besides Hawaii?
Yeah. So when I went to law school, I lived in Santa Clara for 3 years. Mm-hmm. I was going to stay up there. That was the plan. I got barred up there, and I planned on getting my CPA up there, but KPMG flew me home. And, you know, when you're young at that age, it's like, oh, should I go back home? Should I live here in the mainland? It's so much easier to come back home. All your friends are here. This is home, you know? Mm-hmm. So I came home.
What's KPMG?
Oh, KPMG is Pete Marwick. KPMG is one of the bigger accounting firms. Mm-hmm. And I worked in the tax division, got certified as a public accountant there.
That sounds exciting.
Accounting is so exciting.
You can totally hear that in my voice, right? It's like, thank you for not staying as an accountant. Yeah, how long did you do that?
2 years.
Oh, yeah. Get in, get out. You're like, ah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I went to law school, so that I could sit behind a desk, never have to talk to anybody, never have to talk in front of large groups of people, because I'm deathly afraid of public speaking. So I went to law school so I could be a tax attorney.
Who goes to school for that?
I did. Yeah.
Like you're in high school, it's like, you know what, I want to be a tax person. It's
yeah.
Like, really?
I just wanted to sit behind a desk and never have to talk to anybody.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a hermit kind of thing. Just like, I don't like people.
I'm deathly afraid of public speaking.
And yet here you are.
I know. Life happens, you know. It's.
I mean, we're not the same people we were when you were like in our 20s, right? As we age, we kind of change.
Yeah.
Because I was like totally shy and didn't really talk to anybody in high school and stuff.
And now you have a podcast.
Why do I want to do this? I don't know. It's not being done right. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came back to Hawaii. So you were gone for a few years, came back. What do you love about Hawaii?
It's so hard because everything, right?
Well, you can't be everything. Like the traffic kind of sucks.
Well, I don't ever drive. I live downtown. I work downtown, so I don't have to deal with that. But
okay.
But I will say things have changed, but the people, the aloha, the people love to help people. People love to care for people, you know, but a lot of that is changing right now, I think. And that's why it's hard for me to answer that question, because Hawaii is not what it used to be. You know, when I was a prosecutor, I could walk in the middle of downtown at 2 o'clock in the morning because our parking was way far away because Peter Carlisle didn't want to pay for our parking to be in our building. And so I would work till 2 o'clock in the morning. I could walk through downtown Chinatown by myself and no problem. You know, just the other night, I walked from Dragon upstairs to my house, which is less than half a mile. And I was scared. And I train, you know, I do jujitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I work out. I'm a gun owner, you know, so, but I was concerned about my safety walking home. So things have changed so much. That's why it's hard for me to answer that question.
So, well, let me frame it differently. When you moved away, what did you miss more or most?
Oh, I mean, definitely the people, the safety. I mean, this was my home. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
It's hard for a local girl to move to the mainland and stay out there.
Yeah, no, when I went away to college, I think the thing I missed most was the food.
Oh, the food.
Like
Yeah.
just being able to go and get like plate lunches and just local food. You know? I think like we cook it differently.
Yeah.
Because because I went to Vegas, right, for school. So you can still kind of get local food here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the thing I missed most in Vegas was Hawaiian Sun juices. Yeah.
Well, you can get it, but it's $20 per drink.
You're like, savor this one juice. Whereas like here, you buy a big tray at Costco and you just like tanking them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did miss Hawaiian Sun when I moved away. And then come back and it's like, I don't buy it anymore. Like, when you have it, you don't miss it.
Isn't that ironic?
But when it's gone, it's like, oh, I miss that.
Also, I'm an outdoors person. I love the sun. You know, I love to be outside. So that was hard.
What do you do outside mostly? Surf?
Hike. No, I mean, I do go to the beach a lot, but hike, snorkel, swim, anything outside. I fish, dive, anything.
Anything. Do you stand up paddleboard?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I have like a big 12-foot inflatable paddleboard. That's like in my shed.
That's the problem. They always end up staying there.
Yeah, we just ran out of time
Yeah.
using things like that. Because kids got into sports and stuff, and so our weekends started being tied up with sports. So yeah, maybe someday go back out and use it again.
You got to make time.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what things that you love. So you love the people, right? What do you hate about Hawaii? Because there's always
Oh
something.
man. Well, recently that list has been growing. I will say I don't like the safety factor. I don't like to feel uncomfortable walking down the street in downtown. I don't like that. I don't like my aunties and uncles having to walk down the street and being concerned about holding a purse or not holding a purse or being attacked. I don't like that. It bothers me.
What are your answers for that though? From a society point of view.
Politics, definitely. You know, before I ran for this position, I was never a political person. I never paid attention to what senator was taking what stance or what House of Rep was taking a stance. Or city council. Now I pay attention to everything. I want to know who's passing what bill and what they're suggesting. I think
you sound like a grown-up. Get us out of here.
people need to get involved.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my answer. People have to be involved.
Yeah, because traditionally, like Hawaii has always been low percentage-wise with election or voter turnout, right?
Yeah, and I was there. I was that. You know.
Oh, you didn't? You weren't like a voter?
I voted, but I never really paid attention to people's positions. Honestly, I went off of name recognition, and I know that's what a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now I'm definitely in tune to what people's positions are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole name recognition thing. I have to edit that out or just speed through it. Name recognition. I don't like that here in Hawaii, where that's like your important factor, like standing on the side of the street, sign waving, and that's what elected officials are trying to do, right? Traditionally, that's what they do. They go out and they stand and they wave and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I see your name, but who are you?
Right.
What do you stand for? What do you think about this issue? You know, I can't get that from seeing you wave your signs.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you go to neighborhood board meetings or you have like conferences or, you know, sometimes they have debates and stuff. okay, where can I watch that? It's like, oh no, you have to come and watch it. It's like, I don't have time for that. Like in this day and age, people don't have time to go sit in the cafeteria and listen.
Yeah. I think social media has made that much easier. It's easier for people to research candidates. You go on my website, I have 4, 5, 6 videos. You go on my Facebook, you can see our debate, and you can fast forward through the portions you don't want to listen to. So social media makes it much easier for people to investigate, do their due diligence.
And argue like stupid points.
I don't get into Facebook
No,
arguments.
yeah.
I see it happen.
I used to, and then I stopped, and it was just like, it's pointless.
I try to answer everyone's questions, but if they're just saying nasty things, I don't respond. Doesn't bother me.
It's like, why do people do that? They think there's no repercussions or anything. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
You gotta have thick skin to run for a position.
You do, because then you're becoming a target. Anytime you're at a place of notoriety, right? You're going to be a target for negative views.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me.
I think one of the things is with running or like social media and stuff is that you get a few people that don't like you that will be loud. And then you get a majority of people who do like you that aren't going to say anything.
They don't say anything.
They're the quiet majority that would support someone.
Yeah, that's perfectly
fine. And then
fine.
you get like the 5 or 6 other people who are just like loud, obnoxious, and saying bad stuff. I hate that.
Yep.
Shut up already.
Everyone can have their own opinion. It's perfectly okay.
True. That is true.
Yeah.
And it's our decision to listen to it or not.
It is.
Okay, so why did you become an attorney? Because you wanted to be a tax attorney, but how did that translate into joining the prosecutor's office?
Oh, gosh. So I went to law school so that I could sit behind the desk, draft contracts, and never have to talk to anyone.
The boringest thing ever.
But I wasn't articulate. I don't speak well. I'm deathly afraid of public speaking. And so that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do.
Clearly not the same person.
So after I worked at KPMG and I got certified as a public accountant, I started going to all the big firms and applying. Nobody would hire me. And so at this one firm, this managing partner took me to lunch and he said, I'll tell you why no one's hiring you. I said, okay. He says, because you're a trial attorney. And I said, no, I am not a trial attorney. And he says, you are. It doesn't seem like you really want to be a civil litigator or business attorney. And I go, no, that's exactly what I want to do. He says, we can see your personality. You're a trial attorney. Go to the prosecutor's office and try to do some trials. And I said, no, I don't want to do trials. I'm deathly afraid of public speaking and I'm not articulate. Well, I listened and I went anyways. And I asked Peter Carlisle to hire me. And he said, well, what lawyers do you know? And I said, I don't know any lawyers. And he said, what police officers do you know? And I said, I don't know any police officers. And he said, why should I hire you then? I said, because I'm good. And he said, okay. And he hired me on the spot. And I rose up very quickly through the prosecutor's office doing trials.
That's interesting. How did they peg you for a trial attorney? Or how did those other attorneys peg you for a trial attorney? Like what stood out in your character?
I didn't know at the time, but now because I get a lot of students that work for me, tell me what they want to do, whether they want to be litigators or transactional attorneys. And now I can see it. I can see who's going to be a trial attorney and who's not. You can see it.
But for you back then, like what was it though? What do you see now that you could have seen in yourself if you were looking at yourself back then?
I guess it was just I have a very strong personality. I guess that was part of it.
You have to. You're like 4'11" or something.
Yes. So I guess that's what it was. Yeah.
That's it?
I guess
Strong personality?
Yeah. I guess it was my outwardness. I don't know. I don't know. But now when I look at kids, I can tell. I can see you're either going to be a trial attorney or you're not.
What specifically are you looking for in a person who's going to be a trial attorney versus someone who's not?
So thick skin is the most important, because if you start taking things personally, you're going to shoot yourself in the head. Being a trial attorney is extremely stressful. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I check my emails. People are screaming at me in emails. I'm making phone calls. People are screaming at me from 5 in the morning till 9 at night. I mean, people are upset all the time because litigation is not fun for the client. So thick skin is the first thing. Personality is a big thing. If you're withdrawn, it's going to be very difficult for you to be a litigator. You're out in the public, you're out in the limelight, in front of people. If you're withdrawn, that's very difficult. If someone is articulate, I look at that because they're already able to speak. And being a trial attorney, you got to be able to think on the fly, respond right away, make quick decisions. So if you're already inarticulate and then you have to think about what you're going to say, you're going to have a real hard time being a trial attorney. So that's what I look for. I guess that's what those guys could see in me back then. I didn't know.
Being a prosecutor first and then defense attorney, what were like big challenges for both?
So they're so different, yeah. As a prosecutor, you're representing Honolulu. You're representing the community. And you don't have an attorney-client relationship with the victim. The victim is your witness, and you can call the victim and prep the victim, but you don't have that confidentiality that you do as a defense attorney. So a defense attorney and a defendant have complete privilege, right? Whatever the defendant tells me, if he says, I killed someone yesterday, I can't tell anybody. So that's a challenge as a prosecutor because that's not your client. Another very big challenge is fighting for people that don't want to fight for themselves. That's the biggest problem. And it's the hardest thing for prosecutors to do because especially in the domestic violence cases, a lot of the time the victim is fighting with you and you're trying to help the victim. So it's very difficult if you've never been in that situation to understand why she doesn't want to prosecute, right? So that was a very big challenge, but it was also very rewarding for me to prosecute the case and win cases, even when the victim didn't want to prosecute, because the defendant has to be convicted. So that was very good. Defense attorney challenges is actually public perception. That's the biggest difficulty that I have because people automatically think, oh, why are you representing that scumbag? And
Sure.
and I'm being, that they use worse words than that, right? So that's the person that's representing that guy. He's bad, he's a scumbag, he's whatever. So that's the hardest part. People don't understand that without defense attorneys, everyone's rights would be trampled on. It is the defense attorney that makes sure that the government stays in tune and in line with our constitutional rights. Because without defense attorneys, the government and the police could come into your house, arrest you for no reason, come into your house, search your house for no reason without probable cause, and we would have no privacy. We wouldn't have any rights. So the most difficult thing about being a defense attorney is people's perceptions. They don't understand how much a defense attorney is actually standing up for their rights. This is everybody's system, right? The judicial system applies to everybody, not just the one person who's been arrested and is facing prison time.
So you're looking at yourself like a protector of the Constitution.
That's what defense attorneys do, yeah. I'm not here as a defense attorney to get a guy off that did something bad or to trick the system or to help him get away with crimes, yeah. Defense attorneys are here to protect someone's constitutionally protected rights and to make sure that he or she gets a fair trial. That's what defense attorneys do. And I fight very hard for whatever side I'm on, whether it's the government or a defense attorney, I fight.
So what's the biggest thing that people, the public, don't realize about the relationship that prosecutors and defense attorneys have?
I hear all the time, everyone's corrupt, everyone's in it together, and it doesn't work like that. I mean, we all work under a civilized community. It's a very small community. There aren't a lot of attorneys that practice criminal law. And so we all know each other. We've all been against each other or worked alongside one another at one point in time. So we all have a very cordial, very professional relationship with everybody. It doesn't mean that we're conspiring or colluding to put someone in prison or to get somebody off. That doesn't happen. It's a very fair system. With the judges that we have, the prosecutors, the police officers, and the defense attorneys, everybody plays their own role. And I believe justice always prevails. I know people don't agree with me with that, but I've been on both sides. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney, and I honestly believe justice always prevails.
Interesting. So, is there anything with this system that you might change or you might want to change in a hypothetical scenario?
I mean, in the prosecutor's office, definitely. That's not the justice system in general. I think we have a great justice system. We have people don't know unless they sit in a jury trial as jurors or they sit as a defendant or as a witness. They don't understand, but we have the greatest justice system. 12 people from the community who don't know the defendant, who don't know the prosecutor, who don't know the defense attorney, come together, listen to the evidence, and decide if the person is guilty or not guilty. I believe it's the greatest system ever. I mean, I really do. There's no collusion. There's no way you can't, in the movies, you see people buying off jurors. That doesn't actually happen. So it's the best way to decide if someone is guilty or not guilty. 12 people from the community.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that after seeing places like, Singapore, and I don't know if it's true, but in Singapore, I heard from Singaporeans that if someone makes like a false claim about you or something like that, like you can file and have them like put in jail.
Oh, I don't know anything about
something like that. Or there's like corruption charges and stuff that you can just bring on someone and they get taken and put in jail. Yeah. And they don't have like due process and stuff like that.
Yeah. And that's why our system is so great, because we do have due process. You cannot just accuse someone of something with no evidence. There's got to be probable cause to arrest someone, and there has to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt to convict someone. So we have standards. I mean, other countries don't have jury trials. Other countries don't have due process. And we do. It's the greatest system.
Yeah, I mean, we're protecting everybody. When you, like you said, you see that one trial where they're defense attorney's protecting this one scumbag. It's like, no, that defense attorney is defending the rights of that scumbag.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yeah.
And that person's rights are your rights and your rights and your rights. Like, they're all the same rights.
This is what I tell everybody nowadays. Look at Gerard Puana. If Gerard Puana did not have a defense attorney, the fact that Catherine Kealoha, a high-ranking deputy prosecuting attorney, and Louis Kealoha, the chief of police of Honolulu, are now accusing this person of stealing their mailbox, right? Mm-hmm. If he didn't have a defense attorney, he would be sitting in prison as we speak today, because no one would have fought for him. And everyone would have just assumed that he was guilty because these two people, who are very high-ranking, prominent people of our community, accused him of it. But he was innocent, 100% innocent. They made it up completely, right? So I use that case as an example to show people you're innocent unless until you're proven guilty, and you get an attorney for a reason, because you need someone to fight for you.
Do you watch news media at all? National
not a lot.
News media? 'Cause it's kind of the same thing that you're talking about, where people don't have due process when it comes to like journalists posting or saying wrong things or false things or things that they haven't fact checked and stuff. And now the public is like all up in arms about this. And
yeah.
Like, come on, man. It's not the facts. Get the facts straight first.
Yeah. They can say and do whatever they want. And people believe them because that's their source, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Yeah, because traditionally, like, you got your news from the news, and now the news is giving you what they want you to hear, not necessarily the facts of what happened. There's a lot of opinion-based news and stuff. And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, come on. Or show us both sides,
Yeah. They don't.
Show us when somebody's doing something stupid, but if that same person does something great, show that too.
Yeah.
Let us make our own decisions.
Yeah. They're the ones who choose what to report on.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who choose how to report on, what to report on, who. I mean, it's hard. But I think with social media, a lot of people go to Facebook, right? Because now you have an eyewitness that says, this is what I saw. So it's not necessarily going through the news, right? So that's shed some light on issues, yeah.
How has social media impacted your run for this office?
I would say that's the primary way that I get news out now, social media. The Facebook Lives have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you know how that came about. Do you know
No.
how? Okay.
Do share.
Talk about misquoting someone on the news. KHON had interviewed me for a self-defense case where somebody had used a gun to protect his home. And so what people don't realize is when the news media comes and interviews you, we do a 45-minute to 1 hour interview first, and then they pick and choose 3 seconds of what they've interviewed you, and then they put it on the news, right? And so when they did this, they had me saying that you cannot bring a knife to a gunfight, or a gun to a knife fight and a knife to a fist fight. But they didn't show what I had said immediately before that, which was you cannot create your own self-defense and then rely on self-defense. You can't create your own situation where you're stabbing somebody and then claim self-defense when the other person didn't have a knife. So the 2A guys, all the gun rights guys, were all up in arms. I mean, they were like, Megan Cowell doesn't know what she's talking about. She misquoted the law. She's stupid. And people were writing things and calling me and saying, do you want to change your answer? And I'm like, no, I don't want to change my answer. I explained to them the statute. They quoted what they wanted to, right? So in response, I said, okay, I'm going to do a Facebook Live and I'm going to read the statutes and I'm going to read you folks case law and I'm going to explain to you the justice system. 25,000 people have watched that video.
Wow.
And I took hundreds of questions that night. I mean, we couldn't even keep up with the amount of questions that were coming in. So immediately after that, people texted me and they called me and they said, okay, we understand what happened. I was one of those guys that were saying, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm on your side now. I support you. So that's how those Facebook Live events came about.
Did any of those people go after KHON?
No.
KHNL, whoever it was?
No.
Be like, hey, why didn't you guys post more of that? You guys are lying.
Yeah, it's difficult. I understand they're under time constraints. They only give a certain amount of time for certain stories. I mean,
I think from a social media point of view, for news media to say that, like, hey, we're on time constrictions and everything. Well, no, we have the internet now. We have YouTube. We have Facebook. Like, no, you're not on time constrictions anymore. Maybe the only time constrictions are like how many hours you're paying this person. But if you're talking about content that you're posting online, no, you don't have time constrictions.
That's true.
You're making excuses for putting a 3-second segment of a 45-minute interview,
Yeah, it is very frustrating. And I will say, I mean, not all reporters, but some reporters don't understand the significance of the portion that they're quoting. I believe they honestly believe they're putting forth what they understand, right? Some journalists take the time to fully understand the issue, fully understand the consequences of what they're saying. Others just regurgitate, right? I mean, people are different, so it's difficult. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I wanted to, have a podcast and have people on and give them a platform that's not really time constrained to a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're going to give you like 40 minutes to just talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea. It is. So social media, I mean, and now, like I said earlier, I post everything, where I'm eating, who I'm eating with, and people are interested. They ask me questions.
Well, yeah, you're getting followers.
Yeah.
It's a popularity thing too, right?
It's interesting.
But it's good, and that's the future of elections and running for offices. You know, and if candidates aren't jumping on the social media bandwagon, you're far behind. You know, if you're just doing it in the traditional sense of, you know, waving on the street side and stuff like that, you're behind the curve.
So it's not just having a Facebook account and posting a video of yourself or having a Facebook account and posting pictures. You have to be active. I'm on my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when people are posting things, tagging me, asking me questions, I'm answering those questions. It's interaction, yeah?
Yes.
It's not just, here's a picture of me, here I am, vote for me. I am engaging, I am accessible, I am answering questions. And I think, I honestly believe that people care about that.
And it's like you're being absolutely as transparent as you can be when you're posting like the whole Facebook Live things, and you know, you're explaining stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that's huge. And I think candidates running for any office need to look at, you know, other candidates who are doing this kind of social media thing and realize that, no, you're getting followers, and those followers are your voters.
Yeah.
Like, those are your constituents. Like, they're looking at Facebook and they're looking at YouTube and stuff like that, and they want to see you talk about stuff consistently.
Yeah.
You know, not just once a month or, you know, once in a blue moon kind of thing.
Interestingly, a lot of the mayoral candidates have reached out to me and asked me how to do Facebook Live. How do you choose what you talk about? I mean, I've met with almost all of the candidates running for mayor now, and they ask me about it. So I just pick a topic that seems to be of interest: mental health, sex abuse, domestic violence, repeat offenders, and I just talk about it, and I let people ask me questions and I answer them. It's been interesting. Yeah. I think people are curious about the justice system right now.
That's another thing with like the internet and YouTube University. It's like people are actually going out and learning stuff that they never otherwise would have learned. I learned how to like fix my dryer and washing machine. It's like, whereas in the past you would have had to pay someone to come and fix that, and it would have cost you, you know, a couple $100. Like a 10-minute video on YouTube, and oh, that's all I needed to do? Oh, done.
I still couldn't fix my washing machine. I just call somebody. I'll call you next time.
Okay. No, it's not what I'm saying. Hey, you can fix it yourself. Okay, so you have your own practice, right?
I do, yeah.
I mean, a lot of attorneys don't jump in and owning their own practice and running their own office and everything. And I think that also lends credit to your running for the prosecutor's office job, because you already run an office, right? So you know what it's like having employees and stuff like that. But anyways, how did that all start?
So it goes back to when I was a deputy prosecutor. In 2010, Keith won the election, and within 3 months, I knew that I had to leave. It was not a good place for me to be. Catherine Kealoha was a supervisor. I was jumping up and down and screaming and yelling and trying to explain to people that she was not doing good things, and no one would believe me. So I quit. And the only way to take very big cases in Honolulu is to be at the prosecutor's office, which was not an option for me, or to be a defense attorney. That's the only way that you can do trials and take big cases. So I left. I went to a civil law firm, and it was difficult for me to work there. It's a very different environment in civil law firms. It's very boring.
Well, you wanted boring, right?
Yeah.
Tax attorney.
Interestingly, I did. But after having been at the prosecutor's office, it was so difficult for me to be at a civil law firm. So I left after like 8 months, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So I opened my own practice. And that was difficult because I didn't know anyone. I didn't have clients. So I built my practice up. And then I ran it through a smaller law firm for a couple of years. And then in 2018, I just went out on my own completely, and I hired all my employees. So now I have 4 employees. And I'll tell you, in 2016, when that group of lawyers was trying to get me to run against Keith, I definitely wasn't ready back then. And I things happen for a reason. And I didn't run back then. I didn't have the experience that I've had now. I have 4 employees. I've had to manage them and deal with budgets. So, a lot of that it definitely has helped me and prepared me to run for this position. And now, I'm a solo practitioner with 4 employees, and they're all great employees. My legal assistant is at the office Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I hardly go into the office. I'm there like once every 2 months. Otherwise, I work from home. And like I told you before, if I wake up and it's a nice day, I lay at my pool. And if my girlfriends want to go have lunch, I do that. My employees have the same schedule. They work from home. So I never see them. They work on their own time. They take care of their kids or their family. They turn in their work when they need to. And they're great.
So your office, is it run like productivity based?
Yep.
Not time based?
All productivity based, all on a great system. It's just trust and respect.
Mm-hmm. And you've had good experience with that?
Very good. Excellent. And I believe I can bring that to the prosecutor's office too. I think that once you show people how to do things, they want to do better. They have this loyalty. They want to do a good job. And I see that happening. I train a lot of students, and they love what they do. They love what they learn.
So if you get elected, what happens to your office?
I'll have to close it. I'm very sad about that. It was a huge sacrifice for me to decide whether to run. Mm-hmm. And I have great employees. We do have great clients. We do a lot of business. I'm very comfortable financially, so it was a huge sacrifice for me to decide to run for this office. So I'm very sad that I would have to close my practice. I have great cases. It's kind of like a win-win situation for me.
Okay, good. I was going to say, it's like, well, that sounds like a pretty sad story.
It's
you built this up, and
if I win the election, I run the prosecutor's office, and that's a great thing.
Right.
If I lose the election, I get to keep my practice, and
right.
I love my employees, and I love my practice. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, okay, it's a win-win, yeah.
It is a win-win. Running for this position is the best thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. It's great.
Is there any other office you would consider running for? Maybe 10 years from now, 15 years from now?
Never. I never wanted to be a politician. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be a politician. I've been put in this unique situation. I have the knowledge, I have the background, and I have the ability. So I felt like I had to step up. But right. I love being a lawyer. It's the greatest profession ever. I get to help a lot of people. And I'll tell you, if I can sit down with someone for an hour or just answer their questions on the phone for 30 minutes and help them make a decision about this very important and significant choice in their life, then I've helped somebody.
Because you were saying like going through this election process right now is like one of the greatest things you've ever done.
It is. I get to meet so many great people. I wouldn't have met you, but for this election, I meet people that are just amazing in this city, do amazing things that I wouldn't have met. And I'll tell you, I get to do things that I wouldn't have done. I get to go to nonprofit organization meetings. I get to do cleanups. I get to help the community. And these are things that I would have done before, but I wouldn't have been invited to do them because nobody knew who I was and no one wanted to hear what I had to say. So people think, oh, politicians only go to things when they're running for something. It's not that. It's just I never had the opportunities to do the things that I'm doing, to be invited to these great events, to meet these great people. And Honolulu is filled with amazing people, people that do things on a daily basis that no one would know about. I wouldn't have known about except for having run for this position.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Very interesting. So I'm starting this podcast, like I'm meeting people that even not just meeting people, having my friends on and stuff and hearing their backstories.
Yeah.
Their origin and like where they grew up and what their likes are and dislikes are and stuff like that. You really get to know people and say, ooh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Like that's an amazing thing. Like And we were talking off camera about a lot of stuff too. And it's like, you have this amazing backstory that would take a whole nother podcast to go through. And I've been calling her Black Widow, like Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff, because of your origin story. Now you're a superhero.
No, I'm not.
Well.
Everyone has something in their lives, and adversity really determines how you deal with things in life, I think. So you either sink or you swim, yeah. So
well, you're surfing. Like, you're not even use that analogy. Okay. Well, you're doing good things. So I think you're on the right track.
Thank you.
And I hope other candidates for any other position takes a really good look at the model that you've built with regards to social media and, reaching out to constituents and voters and stuff like that. Because I think that's definitely the future. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get the votes, especially with the mail-in ballot thing.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be interesting. I don't know if anybody knows how that's going to affect us, but it's definitely different because people are used to going somewhere to vote, right? Now it's coming to them. So I hope they don't throw away the ballot and think that they can go to a physical spot to vote because it won't be possible.
People, the polls aren't going to be open.
The polls won't be open.
There'll be like two places at Honolulu Hale and Kapolei Hale or something like that. There's just a few places where you can actually go to vote. But all the other votings will be done via the mail.
Yeah.
Which I think will be really interesting because I think you're going to see a higher turnout.
I hope so. Historically.
That may swing votes in a non-traditional Hawaii way.
Yeah, I hope so. Historically, the prosecutor's race gets about 130,000 votes. There are 900,000 people that vote in Hawaii, in Honolulu. Only 130,000 historically vote for the prosecutor's race. Very small turnout.
And if you look at social media followings and stuff like that, people that do have a lot of followers, I mean, you look at those numbers and you can see where the voting could potentially go.
Yeah.
And I only bring this up because the 2016 presidential election, I saw beforehand what was going to happen because I wasn't paying attention to any of the polls. All the polls had Hillary winning, by a landslide.
Yeah.
But if you went on social media and you looked at followers, likes, and stuff like that, how many people are liking this page, how many people are following this candidate or that candidate, Trump had millions more than Hillary Clinton did. And nobody looked at that. That wasn't on the news. People weren't coming out and saying, hey, wait, Donald Trump's got several million more followers on a social media page than Clinton did.
Yeah.
And she didn't have that many, even though, popular vote thing, whatever. But
yeah, I don't understand that. Popular versus electoral. It's a difficult system to understand. And I think there's good.
I have a really easy explanation for the electoral.
Okay.
Yeah. So we live in the United States. We don't live in just America. It's not, it's a multitude of governments at a state level together as one union. So each of those states has to be represented. So you cannot have a popular vote that would only have 3 or 4 states represented. Every single state is part of the union. And so every single state needs to be represented. And it dates all the way back to the 13 colonies building that up and becoming one country. Because you would have had Virginia as or New York, one of those 2 states, would have had more influence over all the other colonies, all the other states now. And then I think Massachusetts broke up into Vermont and Delaware and all these other little small Rhode Island and stuff
But that presupposes that everyone in the state would vote the same way.
But you're voting for your state. You're voting for, okay, so take it as a sports analogy. Do you watch basketball?
No.
God. She doesn't watch basketball. She doesn't watch TV. She doesn't watch sports.
No. UFC.
Okay, so that I can't use UFC as... No, I actually could. Okay, so boxing or fighting or anything like that, each round is scored, right? So at the end, Well, no, boxing's probably not the right analogy because you could win. The person who wins the most rounds, right,
Right.
would win the fight.
Right.
So let's take a look at an analogy of basketball or hockey. Professional wise, they play a series in the playoffs, best of 7.
Okay.
Has absolutely no scoring goals. Has absolutely no bearing. Doesn't matter how many goals you score.
I see.
What wins your series is who wins the 4 games, the best of 7. So whoever wins 4 games, it doesn't matter if you scored way more goals than the other team did. It matters what games you won.
Okay,
and
that's
how
a
many
good
games you won.
analogy.
So it doesn't matter how many voters you get. It matters what state, how many states you win.
That's a good analogy.
And that forces candidates at the presidential level to go to all these other states and try to win all these states that want to be represented.
That's a good analogy.
Okay. Yay, win. Can't use boxing. Okay.
No, yeah.
Can't use-
I see that though.
And people may say, oh, well, that's still not fair. It's like, well, those are the rules that these candidates agreed to when they
Yeah.
ran for the office.
Yeah.
So they can go and start going on podiums and talking about how getting rid of the Electoral College and everything like that. But they're still playing the game as a best of 7 series.
I see. Yeah.
That's the rules that they're agreeing to when they run for office.
Yeah.
And you can't complain about it after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, no, you agreed to those rules. You played that game.
That's a very good analogy. And there are rules for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing here on the nonpartisan races, right? At the primary, if anyone gets more than 50%, they win. If no one gets more than 50%, then the top 2 go to the general election. I mean, yeah, there are rules for a reason.
And you agree to those rules when you start running.
You do. Yeah.
If you don't agree, don't run. I don't know. Anyways, get off my soapbox.
That was very good.
I just don't like when people say, oh, we should get rid of the Electoral College. I'm like,
Well,
it's un-American to say that. Like
Yeah.
at its base root of United States, it is un-American to say, let's get rid of the Electoral College. Look at it, revise it maybe, but you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then California, New York, and Florida, and Texas would be running the country.
Yeah. I see that. Things change. There's always a better system for something, but everyone has to agree on it, right? That's democracy. Even here, prior to 1980, the mayor elected the prosecutor. But at that point in time, the mayor was electing prosecutors that weren't necessarily investigating the mayor for his alleged misconduct. And so a group of lawyers got together in the 80s and amended the city charter and put it on the ballot for Honolulu voters to vote. And they said, yes, we agree. The prosecutor's position should be an elected position instead of an appointed position. It's more fair that way. And so since it's been an elected position, we've only had 3 prosecutors: Charles Marsland, Keith Kaneshiro, and Peter Carlisle. Now on the ballot this year is a proposal to go back the way it used to be. So the city council has proposed that the prosecutor's office be an appointed position by the mayor again. So people will have to vote on that.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Keep it in an elected office. A lot of places like the sheriff is an elected
Yeah.
position too.
A lot of places
Not
judges are elected too.
Mm-hmm.
Not here though.
Yeah.
But my point is, times change, systems change, people change, technology changes, right? So instead of going backwards, try to think about something different than what we've already done. For example, create a committee, a prosecutorial committee, where people vote for the people on the committee, or the people on the committee are appointed by the mayor, the citizens, city council, or someone other. I mean, think of something different. We've already done that, yeah? It didn't work. So no sense we go back to what we were doing before.
No sense. Let's push forward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been good having you on.
Thank
you
you
so
very
much. You're like, oh, that's it? That's time? Yeah, that's time. Okay. Everybody, Megan Cow, remember to vote in this year's coming election for all the candidates. The ballots are coming in the mail. And as always, stay happy, Hawaii.